welcome to the Boxing Day edition of The Pulse. We are coming to you from our studios here at Kokomlemle. We're live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125 and around the world on myjoyonline.com. Coming up, red flags have been raised across ECG's operational centers as tensions grow among members of the Public Utilities Workers Union of the Trades Union Congress, who strongly oppose what they describe as a hasty move to introduce private sector participation in ECG. We have details plus hear from the TUC's ride here this afternoon on The Pulse. Also, we will zero in on the Tema Oil Refinery's return to operations and what it truly means for Ghana's energy security, fuel pricing and the broader economy as concerns over sustainability mounts. This afternoon, Narcotics Control Commission steps up patrol at shopping malls, beaches and other public spaces as it intensifies its nationwide clampdown on the use and sale of hard drugs during the festive season. These and more coming up with me, Mamisi Nyamiche Thompson. We'll be right back. Back to the polls, and this afternoon we start from the ECG, where red flags have been hoisted across ECG's operational areas in many parts of the country as tensions grow among members of the Public Utilities Workers Union of the Trade Union Congress, who say they are strongly opposed to what they describe as a hasty move to introduce private sector participation in the company. The union warns the decision could undermine an ongoing turnaround program that is already showing results. In a statement, Poole said it was surprised by media reports that the government intends to appoint a transaction advisor to transition ECG into private sector participation before the holidays, despite an existing reform program being implemented jointly by management and workers under the supervision of the Energy Ministry. The union explained that the turnaround program followed extensive engagements with the Energy Minister and was designed to revive ECG through internal reforms rather than privatization. We'll get you the details of that statement very shortly. First, my colleague James Aveji was at the headquarters earlier and where a red armband have been hoisted in the protest. Watch this.
Utility Workers Union of TUC's protest against government move to appoint a third party or a transaction advisor for the private sector participation in the Electricity Company of Ghana has started here at the ECG headquarters in Accra. The workers have begun with hoisting red bands across the entrance of the ECG headquarters. They said they are kicking against one thing, that government must back down on this particular move. In a statement they have issued on Monday, December 29, they revealed that they have had an agreement with the Energy Ministry to boost revenue generation, because that has been at the center of the discussions. That has been the problem of government with the Electricity Company of Ghana, where their revenues have been declining. Apart from the losses in the system, the major challenge has been the inability of the Electricity Company of Ghana to collect its own revenue, leading to debts with customers. Government says they want to engage a third party to move into the revenue collection in order to boost the revenue generation of the ECG. The government, in a statement, indicated that they will be appointing a transaction advisor in order to see that materialize. They said they will be doing that by end of this Christmas into next year. Poole said they are kicking against this, and their reasons are simple. They said they have had an arrangement with the Energy Commission, with the Energy Ministry, promising to improve their revenue collection. This, they said, they have done in the last few months, in the last 5 months, and so they do not see any reason why government should go ahead with this move. They said this is just the beginning of a long protest until government takes the decision to back down. Some workers are here, although a chunk of them have moved, are off on Christmas break. Those here will not speak to us on camera, but the indication we get from them is that their leaders have their full support, their full backing in order to carry this through. It is unclear the number of days they'll be doing this and how they would escalate it, whether we'll be seeing them hit the street in protest. That is unclear. But as far as they are concerned, they have started this with this question of red bands, and they will continue to kick against this until government backs down. From the Electoral House here in Accra, I'm James Savaji for Joy News.
Well, let me bring you excerpts of that statement and now from Ampu, who is rejecting that transaction advisor to the Electricity Company of Ghana. And according to the statement, it says the attention of PU of TUC Ghana has been drawn to media reports of government intention to appoint a transaction advisor for the ECG before Christmas, but we know Christmas has gone on. Now, the announcement came despite the ongoing turnaround program agreed with the Ministry of Energy and is being run jointly with management and workers of ECG, led by PU TUC. This program was the outcome of constructive engagements with the Ministry of Energy and aimed at reviving ECG through internal reforms rather than privatization. This came on the back of the minister's assurance of non-interference in the activities of the power distributor. Clear deliverables tabled at the meeting as a roadmap were accepted for implementation, which we are religiously following. It comes as a surprise, such an announcement of the appointment transactional advisor. We hereby wish to express our strong opposition to the move for the appointment of a transaction advisor as announced by the Ministry for Energy. Over the past 5 months, ECG workers have demonstrated an exceptional level of commitment, discipline, and dedication to this turnaround agenda. And results include revenue collection, improved system losses have drastically reduced, power supply has been stabilized for the benefit of Ghanaians. Well, let's go on the line now and speak to Dr. Kwabena Nyarko of the TUC. Well, Dr. Nyarko, you're welcome to the polls this afternoon. We've seen your statement. You're opposing a transactional advisor to the ECG. I believe government has the right intentions to introduce a transactional advisor to the company, despite internal, measures that have been put in place. Have you in any way transacted or, better still, engaged with government to even understand from their perspective?
For having me. We have engaged government, and that engagement, we understood it to mean the intended private sector participation was to enable ECG collect its revenues and to be able to pay the IPPs, to obviate the need for government of Ghana to take money from the budget to pay for IPP debts, and to get a stable light for Ghanaians. Now, after this engagement, we then agreed with government that, okay, all the things you want to do through private sector participation, we, the union and our members, will be prepared to work with government to ensure that ECG collect the revenues. So if you read the statement, we then sat down with government and agreed on a number of things government will be doing, the union and the workers will be doing, and the management of ECG will also be doing. So over the past 5 months, and I was part and parcel of those meetings. Over the past 5 months, the results have been good. The budget for 2026 captured the result that ECG revenues have increased by 90%. Power has been stable. System losses have gone down. The IPPs are getting their payment. Of course, we recognize there's still room for improvement, and the workers or pool, the ECG workers are prepared to go the extra mile in working with government to do that. Now, if the early result shows such promising progress, what is there to be fixed by rushing through a privatization program? So it comes as a surprise to us.
But you know, ECG also has issues with the debt burden. Reason you've also introduced private internal, measures to ensure that some of these things are taken care of. But is that enough, or can Pool, assure that they'll be able to scale up these internal gains without private capital?
I mean, the issue of private capital has always been an issue that has been used to justify privatization. And in this country, we have just too many examples of private foreign companies coming with a promise to invest. And then at the end of the day, they actually don't come up with anything. We were in this country when we were told that Vodafone was coming with private capital to invest in GT, coming with technology to expand and to create more jobs. But after 2007, when GT was privatized and it became Vodafone, what we have seen, or what we saw, was a destruction of about 4,000 jobs. And today, look at the state of Ghana Telecom, which became Vodafone and now Telecel. So this issue that foreign investors are coming with capital too often has been used as a bait to force us into a privatization, but those capital actually never materialized. Yes, pool workers and ECG workers are prepared to go the extra mile. This is just the beginning. If in 5 months, by working together as a team with government, would raise revenues to such a significant level, it means that we have demonstrated that we can do it, and we are willing to go the extra mile. There are other measures that both government and workers will have to take, and we can promise you will do our part to salvage ECG and to make sure that we do not need any private sector participation in this strategic national assets.
Well, Dr. Nyarko, let me get some insights from the ministry spokesperson. We're grateful for your time on the polls. Exactly what will be the role of the transactional advisor if he should come on board on ECG?
Good afternoon to you, and then good afternoon to Doc, and let me say good afternoon to your cherished viewers. Let me take the opportunity to wish everyone Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. The issue of PSP, that's private sector participation, was approved by Cabinet as far back as April 2025. Since the approval, consistently, the ministry led by the Honorable Minister, Dr. John Jinapong, has always engaged Pool. There's not a single time they've requested for a meeting that the ministry has declined. The government served notice to them that these are structural challenges that needs to be addressed. And at the said meeting where Doc referenced, which will be around June 2025, they requested that instead of government to go ahead to implement the private sector participation, which is not a sale of ECG, but the introduction of a private sector in an aspect of ECG's business where we recognize that there are critical challenges, for example, technical and commercial losses, and largely when it comes to billing and collection. The government listened. The government gave the workers the 6 months that they requested. Over the period, we've seen improvements, which no one will run away from. Collections have improved. Revenues have improved. We are still not out of the woods yet. There's still significant deficits when it comes to service by ECG, especially the collection, and then also the technical losses. Today, as we speak, if you look at technical loss, you're looking at about 9%. If you look at commercial loss, the last report we had as a ministry is around 27%. And so the government's position is that at no point did it communicate that there will not be PSP. The PSP has always been on the table. The work of a transactional advisor is to look at a myriad of issues. You're looking at the assets, you're looking at even how to go about the structure. And recently, the committee that government put together launched the framework or the guidelines which will guide the PSP. And so let me emphasize that governments will continue to engage people, as has been the case over the period. It's not that the appointment transactional advisor automatically means the sale of ECG. The sale of ECG is not on the table, is out. What the government's plan is to introduce concessionaires to help ECG when it comes to some aspects of its operations, which it has had difficulty. And so the government will continue to engage them. I am surprised that Doc and his group are in the media because at no point in time have they requested for a meeting and has been declined. And so we should still be back on the table and engage as parties, and I'm sure that there wouldn't be any need to
well, Mr. Roxon, so just to be clear, there's also an issue of a management issue, if I should put it that way. There have been an introduction of internal reforms, which is already yielding fruits. And these workers say that it has had the input of the Energy Ministry. And so the question is, if it's a matter of management to ensure that ECG cuts down on its debt or even scraps its debt and also gets or make gains, and these internal reforms are working, why do you still need a transactional advisor if really you can, revolutionize the management of ECG to get the results that you're looking for?
And that is what has been happening since January to date. Like I mentioned, we've seen improvement. It's not as if we haven't seen any improvement. The government at ECG with several challenges, from procurement to costs or debt to utilities, to IPPs, collection problems, very high AT&C, what is it, aggregate technical and commercial losses. And so you've seen improvement. That's the government will not run away from. But there's still significant improvement that we have to see as a government. And that is why the PSP has never been off the table. If today, and the government has always told POO that if today they will be able to deal with the challenges that the government is facing when it comes to ECG, at the end of the day, why not? But they themselves will admit that we are not where we have to be. But the fact that we moved from 1 to 3 does not mean that if we're supposed to be at 7, we should not take steps when it comes to that.
So exactly.
But let's engage. Like I said, the most important thing is engagement.
The engagement, I believe, Mr. Roxon, the engagement, I believe, has been going on. We already know, right, even before the Mohammed administration took over, we knew this was on the table. But subsequently, engagement has really not yielded much on the side of the ministry or government and these workers. If you would allow me to complete my question, that would be great. So I would like to know from you, I mean, these workers insist that internal mechanisms, including proper management of this, could turn the fortunes of ECG. Why aren't you giving that a go?
I mentioned earlier that the workers made the request in June 2025. The request was not made yesterday. And so it's not as if the government has been oblivious of their request or has refused their request. That is not the case. And Doc himself admitted that over the period, there's been several engagements. And so what has been happening over the period is that the government meets with them through the Minister of Energy and Green Transition, Dr. Chinapo, and then we review the work that is ongoing, what has been achieved and what the deficit is. But the reality is that there are still challenges. And let me emphasize once again that the appointment of a transactional advisor does not automatically mean there's a sale. A transactional advisor's work is basically to structure the transaction You're looking at the assets, you're looking at what the PSP will come to do, you're looking at, as to the government is talking about multiple concessionaires. Whether or not you're going to use 2, whether you use 3, you use 5, whether or not you're going to demarcate it, you're going to do regional basis, whether you're doing zonalization, all of these will be things that the transactional advisor will look at. And so the fact that the government is going ahead with the consideration of a transactional advisor does not mean that today ECG has been sold, which is not an option. Automatically the private sector has taken over. The government will continue to monitor their performance. The government will continue to engage them. And then at the appropriate time, I'm sure that a decision will be made. But let's come back to the table as it has always been. Doc knows that if they call the minister even at midnight, and they themselves admit that this is a minister who has engaged them at all times. A minister that even when they call at 6 a.m., you can ask them, we made them very early, we made them very late in the evening, very late in the afternoon before. And so let's speak. There's no need to demonstrate. There's no need to go up in arms in government. What the government is looking at is a better ECG for all of us. A better ECG means that they get to keep their jobs. A better ECG means that we'll keep the lights on as a government. And that should be our primary focus. So
how soon does this transactional advisor start work?
The process is ongoing. I've seen media reports suggesting that the advisor was supposed to be appointed before Christmas, but the process is ongoing. And like I said, once the process is done, the transaction advisor will start its work. The appointment does not mean there is an automatic selection of a concessionaire. That is not the case. And so let's exercise patience, let's go through the process, let's continue to engage. And I'm sure that at the appropriate time, the workers will have a better understanding that the government does not have any ill intention when it comes to ECG.
Well, Dr. Nyarko, so you've been hearing what Mr. Roxon has been saying. This transactional advisor really is not to, privatize ECG, but restructure issues, internal problems that your company has. Do you still disagree with this position?
Completely disagree. You see, we have been in this game for a long time. And the semantics of private sector participation, privatization, they are very familiar to us. In fact, over the last couple of decades, some of the unions have done studies about how governments across the world have tended to change the name from privatization to private sector participation, or to avoid scrutiny, and to also avoid the negativity that has come to be associated with privatization. Mr. Rossing, we also want a better ECG. That is why we have been engaging with you. And as you just pointed out, if you can move from 1 to 3, and the destination is 7, it doesn't mean we have solved all the problem. We recognize that. But you should also recognize that if you have moved from 1 to 3, in 5 months, it is possible to get to 7 in the next 1 year. So we actually are prepared to engage, but it becomes a little bit more difficult when in the middle of the engagement, an external entity like the IMF comes to tell the Ghanaian public that the government has appointed a transaction advisor against something we have stood against, against something for which we are dialoguing with you. So it makes the dialogue a little bit more difficult. There seems to be bad faith somewhere along the line. When you tell us that, oh, private sector participation is not privatization, it is not true. It is just another name, renaming of the privatization episode, which we have every evidence to suggest that it hasn't helped this country. So yes, we will engage, but we urge government to engage in good faith.
All right.
Okay. Put all the cards on the table. We can advise government on what to do with ECG than any private sector transaction advisor. The workers have worked with CGC and they know where the ECG, and they know where the bottlenecks are. They know where the challenges are.
All right.
They can come up with better solution than any transaction advisor can come.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kwabena Nyarko, Deputy Secretary. Very briefly, very briefly, please.
Very briefly, yes. Doc mentioned that Private sector participation is, and then if you try to distinguish between that and then privatization, I have not used privatization in this conversation. What I've said is that there's a private sector participation, and it does not have to do with ECG as an entity, where you are selling shares out of ECG or you're transferring it to another entity. No. What you are looking at is an aspect of ECG's operations, and the government has said that it is going to focus on billing and collection. So you'd come in with a concessionaire, and it will help you to recover the monies, bill and collect the monies that are due. That is what the government needs to look at, and system improvement. It has nothing to do with the ECG itself as an entity where there's going to be a sale. There's nothing like that.
All right. Thank you very much, Richmond Roxon, spokesperson for the Energy Ministry, and also Isonyako of Pool TUC. We're grateful for your time on the polls. Well, let's stay a while longer on energy, because the Tema Oil Refinery is resuming operations, which targets an expansion of its nameplate capacity to 60,000 barrels per stream day in the medium term, raising concerns as experts flag inadequate crude supply as the major challenge affecting the refinery. The refinery has officially resumed crude oil refining operations following the successful completion of major turnaround maintenance works on its crude distillation unit CDU carried out between August 1 and October 30. As the refinery projects to restore its original capacity of 45,000 barrels per stream day, up from the current operating level of 28,000 barrels per stream day, energy experts continue to cite inadequate crude supply as the key constraint. A member of our Joy News research team, Caleb, has been breaking down the significance of this resumption.
Yes, Sheila. So, every month we need dollars to go and import crude products into the country. Now, the main reason why the former government introduced the good for oil policy was because every month we need about $400 million to go and buy refined petroleum for the country. So if you find a way of reducing the amount of dollars that you need to bring in refined crude, you protect your city. So that's the whole thinking about, trying to find other ways to bring in crude into the country. Now we have a refinery, that's the Tema Oil Refinery, since the 1960s, and then the government took over in the 1970s. So the oil refinery is supposed to refine crude and then provide it to the domestic market. But the problem is that with TOR, there's always issue with getting the raw supply, that's crude. Even though we produce crude oil in the country, most of it, we have some contracts that have buyers already, and then the players in the markets, that's Tullow and the others, they also have their own buyers. So TOR usually struggles to get crude oil. So understanding how TOR is going to get consistent supply of crude oil is one thing. But then once we get the crude oil, we also have to know the terms of the contracts, whether they've also decided to share some of the refined crude with other countries, or the entire production comes to Ghana. Because so far, we have some refineries in Ghana, and then so far that contributes to about 9% of Ghana's total refined petroleum consumption. That's from petrol to diesel to jet fuel, LPG, and all of that. So even though we have 9%, we need to increase this more, because like I said, this year we are spending about $430 million every month importing crude, refined crude into the country. So once the Tema Oil Refinery comes on board, once we have a steady supply of crude for them to continue refining crude oil into refined petroleum, and also once we can get the entire production output from Tema Oil Refinery for the country, we need to know how much that is and how much that will save us in terms of forex every month. Because $430 million is no small joke.
It's no. Well, let's listen now to energy and financial economist at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Jibril Mohammed. He spoke on Pi Morning on Joy Pi.
So right now, can they be sustainable? One of the key things is that are they able to have significant crude oil to be able to refine? That has been the challenge all the time. So the point is that they are working very hard to ensure that I think they can bring that together. I mean, currently their capacity is like 28,000, and all the 4 columns that they are doing, the column 1 has been dysfunctional for the past 30 years.
Well, on the midday news on Joy FM, the Corporate Affairs Director of the Tema Oil Refinery, Godwin Mahama Ayaba, among others, explains how much of Ghana's crude will be refined and how much of local demand this resumption will meet.
Yeah, it is true. On the 19th of December, TOR officially started operation after several years of inactivity. before the appointment of the MD, we are all aware the president, part of his campaign promise was to come and revive TOR. And this is part of the reason why when he appointed the Minister for Energy and Green Transition and the MD and the Deputy MD, he tasked them to make sure TOR is revamped. And that is what they have done after less than a year of taking over of TOR. As to the quantity of the local crude that TOR can refine, what we must all know is that, one, TOR can refine our local crude.
All right.
Because our local crude is a sweet crude. In the year 2015-2016, during the former MD's era, who is Mr. Iwadakon, the Jubilee crude was refined. So there has been a lot of issues as to whether TOR can refine the local crude or not. It is a fact we can refine the local crude because what we are currently refining is a sweet crude, and we also have the sweet crude.
All right.
As to the quantity.
That noted, Godwin. But given that most oil fields in the country are already bound by lifts and export contracts, and their crude oil is exported, if Ghana ends up importing crude for refining, what portion of the refined product is expected to be retained for domestic consumption?
All would depend on the contract TOR or the government of Ghana will sign with a foreign company who will be providing us with a crude and the type of contract we will be signing. TOR, we can decide to then buy the crude ourselves, own it by ourselves. If that becomes the arrangement, what it means is that every finished product that will get out of the refining of the crude, all will remain in Ghana and Ghanaians will get the full benefit. However, if the contract suggests that we are doing what we call the tolling system, where individuals, companies will bring their crude, we refine for them, then we take charges. Then that one, obviously, when they bring their crude and refine for them, the finished product goes back to them.
Well, IES has a statement on this, and we'll be taking a look at that shortly. Joining us also is ASEP's Kojo Yao Chair, and he is the policy lead, petroleum and conventional energy at Africa Center for Energy Policy. We'll get to him shortly, but this is what the Institute is saying. The Institute for Energy Security extends its warmest congratulations to you, Edmund Combat, Esquire, and your team on the successful resumption of crude oil refining operations at the Tema Oil Refinery. Well, let's go now to the policy lead at ASEP. We're grateful for your time, sir. With the resumption of TOR, how does this reshape fuel pricing, even import-dependent, crude in our sector? Is this a game changer in any way?
Very much for having me. I think, first of all, the important thing is that it's a positive signal to the market on the readiness of the company now to participate within the market and also serve the market with refined products. As to the extent to which it will be able to influence the market in terms of price stability will largely depend on one, its reliability. That is it able to refine the product and supply the market over a longer term? The second would also be, just like the corporate affairs manager was saying, is it going to operate, buy its own crude and refine, or operate as a tolling facility, which it was originally designed to be, so that it will only refine, takes its tolling fee, then it has no significant impact on how it would influence the market. But if it is going to import its own crude, refine, and then pump into the market, then we can be sure that there will be some impact on based on their reliability on the price stability that we'll experience at the pump.
Well, from your perspective, I mean, you're the experts on the field. You know what's happening in the sector. Looking at TOR and also the oil fields currently, do you think there's enough crude for local refinery?
Traditionally, we have not given Ghana crude to TOR to refine, apart from the 2015, 2016, where a parcel of crude was given to them to refine. I think the challenge for government or the state is that in the case where if you export your crude as the Ghana group with your contractors offshore, you are assured a certain price, assured a certain revenue. For example, we've been making over $1 billion in revenue from petroleum exports over the last 5 years, right? Because the price has been stable and has been good. Are you going to get the same revenue to support your budget to give to GMPC and all the others that the Petroleum Revenue Management Act requires when you give that crude to TOR to refine and put to the market so that you get your money? The way the system has operated has not provided any guarantees to any of the governments that have looked on since we started producing oil to satisfy it that if we give our crude to TOR, we'll be able to generate the same returns that we generate in terms of revenue for the state to support the budget. So there will always be that difficulty in getting local crude production to be given to TOR. But of course, the producers that exist, TOR can always reach out to them to have conversation with them. We recently saw Dangote negotiate with Vitol, one of the partners on the OCTP, to get their crude to Nigeria. They've done 2 batches already. So TOR can also explore those arrangements. But for the crude that goes to the Ghana group, I see a very great level of hesitation from the government to hand over that crude to TOR. Maybe in the future, when it is able to show that it is run commercially, it is able to refine and then sell and remit the money, the liquidity challenges that it has faced over the years are fixed and it is being managed as a commercial entity, then it can give government some confidence to give them our crude to refine on our behalf.
That's interesting, the hesitancy there. Well, we hope that it works well for TOR. Thank you very much. We're grateful for your time on our show. A Member of Parliament for Buakwa South, Dr. Kingsley Agyemang, has warned that DVLA's current approach to suspend the new number plate system amounts to perpetrating an illegality and could have serious public safety implications. According to him, the continued use of old and temporary vehicle number plates following the suspension of the new system puts drivers at risk of operating vehicles that cannot be fully insured under the Motor Spare Parts Act. Speaking on the AM show, Dr. Agyemang added that this could render vehicles technically defective and legally unroadworthy, exposing road users to accidents without proper insurance coverage.
You're raising the public safety concerns. The DVLA as an authority, are they in breach of any law at all?
Yes, because they are causing or permitting a vehicle that cannot be insured fully in consonance with the Third Party Act. You know, the Motor Third Party Act is a compulsory provision of our law.
Yeah.
So if you are causing or you are permitting, it means that you are perpetuating an illegality. So the registration must continue from the 1st of January with the usual way of registering. Remember, when we say something is DV, what it means is that it's a defective vehicle. It means that it is not roadworthy.
Right.
It has not assumed roadworthiness for it to have full insurance. So it's a temporary cover that is given to the users of these vehicles. What I'm even more worried about is that the Commissioner of Insurance clicked on the DVLA board. So how do we allow this thing to continue? You know, motor insurance is a compulsory and protected party risk. Anybody that gets onto a highway. So let me just get a bit into it. You realize that you can't have laws without taking into cognizance of societal behavior. If you have observed, you can't get into the last quarter of every year. Anybody that purchases a car will want to register the vehicle in the ensuing year, so that they get a fresh registration. Because largely, vehicle prices are determined by the year it is registered. So if you have a DV, a DP, these are temporary covers when it comes to motor insurance. For instance, DP, some call it direct from port, others call it departure from port. The cover, the insurance cover that it provides is so limited. It covers just the driver and no other person that's in the vehicle, in addition to the third-party risk around. When it comes to the DV, it covers just the driver and the passenger.
Well, let's go on the Zoom now and speak to the Greater Accra Regional Manager for the DVLA, Justice Kudjo. We're grateful, Mr. Kudjo, for your time on the post. What do you make of these concerns from an insurance expert?
For this opportunity given me. In reference to his arguments on the DV plate and its insurance, what the press statement is intended to do or intended to say is that if we are going to tell you that you are going to use your DV plate for the period that registration is going to commence, the indication is that you are going to do a new insurance policy which will cover the duration that the extension is going to cover. So let's assume the year 2025, you did insurance which cover to the period of 2025 December 31st. It means that when the extension is given, it means that the duration for the extension ought to be covered by you, the DV plate holder, and they're taking a new insurance policy, which is going to cover the next number of days or weeks that the authority is going to give out. In other way around, what we also intend to do is that we are going to make sure that DV plates will be available in a limited number. So this time it's not going to be a whole total number of DV plates that people are going to use on their vehicle, but you're going to have a limited number. The major one is about a DP sticker, which is being issued to vehicle owners when they are removing their vehicles from the ports. Because the stickers are always issued at the port, it's also going to be an extension, which is a waiver, that instead of your sticker to expire within 2 weeks that you are supposed to register your car, there's going to be a waiver for that short 2 weeks period to the number of the days that the authority will give to each individual. Based on that, the insurance policy that covers it ought to be extended. So the owner of the DP sticker or DP vehicle ought to go back to the insurance company that insured his sticker or his insurance for you to be extended. And a fee will be paid to the insurance company, but not to DVLA. So this is the main issue that is on the table now.
To safeguard or guarantee that this isn't going to cause security issues?
Yes, so then the whole issue is that each and every individual who is having a DP or DV sticker or DV plate has it or her details concerning that very plate. So if you use it to commit any crime or any offense, we should be able to track those individuals who are using such plates for any crime being committed to the states.
Right. Grateful for your time, Mr. Justice Kudjo, Greater Accra Regional Director of DVLA. You're still watching The Pulse on Joy News. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the polls. Now, the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Dr. Osman Nuhu Shaributu, condemns the shooting incident at the whole Central Mosque, describing it as an affront to Islamic sanctity, a threat to national security, a deviation from basic civility, and a tribute to outright impunity. This condemnation follows last Friday's attack when masked gunmen stormed the whole Central Mosque and opened fire on worshippers preparing for Juma prayers, injuring about 11 people. Police say 14 suspects have been since arrested as investigations continue into the incident, which is linked to a protracted imamship dispute in the area. We will be hearing shortly from the personal assistant to the National Chief Imam, Dr. Abubakar Mohammed Azindu. But first, let's hear the statement from the National Chief Imam, read to you by Gemma Apia.
Unity in Ghana. His Eminence, the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Dr. Osman Nuhu Shaributu, expresses disgust at the shooting of Muslims by Muslims in the Central Mosque of Ho last Friday. His Eminence condemns the incident and describes it as an affront to Islamic sanctity, a threat to national security, a deviation from basic civility, and a tribute to outright impunity. In the words of the Grand Imam, the gun violence is traceable to the contest for the Volta regional imamship between Sheikh Ali Muniru and Sheikh Anas. He, however, reiterates that Sheikh Muniru is the legitimate Volta regional imam and Sheikh Anas the deputy imam. His Eminence explains that the selection of Sheikh Muniru has not been an imposition, but a product of consultation and mediation. He therefore does not understand why a resolved matter continues to be a source of violence. His Eminence explains that the selection of Sheikh Muniru has not been an imposition, but a product of consultation and mediation. He therefore does not understand why a resolved matter continues to be a source of violence. His Eminence describes both leaders as his children, from whom he expects solidarity and cordiality in service to Allah and humanity.
Well, the personal assistant to the National Chief Imam, Dr. Abubakar Mohammed Azindu, is on the line with us, and we're grateful for your time on the polls. Now, what steps has the Chief Imam taken following the shooting to ensure that this doesn't happen again?
The opportunity, greetings to all Ghanaians, greetings to the cherished viewers, and a prosperous new year to all Ghanaians. It is important for all of us to understand that this issue is multidisciplinary. And of course, it is an issue of religious leadership, social order, national security, and criminal justice. And therefore, the first step taken after the shooting incident is to assemble the members of the advisory board who served as mediators to consider all these thematic areas and then see what we can do in response to the incident. But it is important for us to understand that ours is very clear. We want peace and reconciliation to prevail. At the time that we mediated, it was not a subject matter of investigation, of police investigation. We also understand the limitation of the mediators within the context of the national security and then police investigation. So we have made it clear that we will continue to pursue the peace angle in a context of tact and diplomacy, and whatever is left with can be handled by the various institutions, the security agencies, the police. We do not pray that it becomes a subject matter of prolonged litigation. We do not want it that way. We also want to make sure that whatever be the case, His Eminence National Chief Imam, who symbolizes unity and peace in this country, will have the opportunity to consolidate peace between the two, I don't want to call them factions, between the two parties. Because That's exactly what His Eminence has access to do. And in that case, we intend to engage them. We would have done that, but at the weekend, it was very difficult for us to get them. We'll engage them. We'll also engage all those involved outside their parameters so that we'll be able to have a collective solution. Ours is just to ensure that peace prevails in that region.
Dr. Azindo, so, I mean, like you rightly said, there are two parties involved in this situation. You are yet to engage both sides, but this is not the first time an incident like this has happened, even though it doesn't, culminated into such a position as it is now. But what we'd like to know is, really, what is the Chief Imam's knowledge of the stance of these two sides? Where do they stand in this situation?
All right, let me emphasize one point. This is not the first time we are engaging them. We engaged them before the shooting incidents. And as I mentioned in the press release, but the outcome that resulted, the outcome of the whole mediation was that Alhaji Muniru should be the Imam and Alhaji Anas should be the Deputy Imam. During the mediation, we engaged them in a series of sessions, and we concluded that that was the best for both of them. But it is important for people to also understand that ours is not a trial. No, ours is mediation. And when we are talking about mediation, parties should consider two fundamental values: sacrifice and compromise. It is not a matter of interest. It is a matter of striking a reasonable balance between interest and responsibility, or interest and the collective social order of that environment. So this is not the first time we have engaged them. We also want to make it clear that our strategy remains confidential because it is strategic. And once it is not yet in full operation, we do not want to give details of our strategy because, of course, it is said that when a strategy is not well handled, it becomes a tragedy.
Well, so, you said earlier that you were...
Let me. So, as I said, when a strategy is not well handled, it becomes a tragedy. Already we are handling a tragedy. We don't want to contribute to the tragedy that we are handling. So...
Well, you make it clear that before this incident happened, you engaged both sides. Exactly what do you think went wrong for it to have culminated in the shooting?
Well, that is why I am saying, remember my opening remarks mentioned the need for all of us to understand the issue as multidisciplinary. So we are not interested in a matter of wrong or right. We are interested in peace and reconciliation. To be frank with you, as it is now, it is in the hands of the police. So we'll all listen to the investigators, and that is why in the press release, His Eminence the National Chief Imam appeals to the police themselves to handle the issue in a state of impartiality, so that at the end of the day, we will all know the truth, and based on the truth, we'll be able to have a collective solution to it. So I'm sorry, it is premature or even irrelevant to us to know who has gone wrong and who has gone bad. Of course, when it comes to mediation, it is not a matter of right and wrong.
Dr. Azindo, that wasn't the question I was asking. What I was trying to understand was you were mediating between the two sides earlier, even before this incident happened. In mediation, I'm sure you would have come up with some measures or some form of, advice to the two parties as to what they should do to ensure that it didn't, deteriorate into the situation that it did on Friday. And I'm asking you, in your conversation with the two sides, what do you think might have gone wrong? I'm not asking who did wrong or who did right, but in your mediation process, what might have gone wrong that couldn't have stopped it from deteriorating into that?
I think that the answer to that question is known to everybody. One, I strongly believe that compliance with our recommendations hasn't been respected. In other words, there has been a level of non-compliance with our recommendations, because we made it clear that it was not a matter of winner and loser. So the simple answer I can give is that the parties involved have not been able to comply fully with our recommendation, because our recommendation was simple: go back as brothers and sisters, go and pursue the values of peace and reconciliation. Do not do ever anything that will injure the reputation of Islam and then threaten national security in that area. So my answer is that there hasn't been compliance, and I think we will continue to engage them to respect the mediation to the recommendation of the mediators. I strongly believe that if both parties comply with the kind of advice given them by His Eminence the National Chief Imam, based on the recommendation of the mediators, we will not have to deal with this tragedy. It is unfortunate.
Well, on the back of that, we are wanting to know whether there's any succession plan in place to avoid such incidents in the future that the Chief Imam is considering or put in place.
Well, these are details we do not want to share with the public, because to be frank with you, now we are dealing with the issue of violence. Our prime objective is to ensure the return of normalcy to the area. For the details about succession plan and even the imamship, we try, in the name of peace and reconciliation, to avoid them. We do not want to discuss them in public, and we want to know that peace is a process, it's not an event. When it comes to the level of sharing with the public the entire document and then the details of the strategy, I think we'll be able to do so. But for now, it is in the interest of peace and reconciliation that we are unable to share with the public details about the succession plan and other matters of the imamship.
Well, beyond the two sides that you're trying to engage, what has become of those that were injured? We know they were, discharged from the hospital, but do we know their conditions currently?
Well, we have tasked our people in the local area to visit them. His Eminence National Chief Imam also intends to visit them, and we believe that they are better now. And that's why His Eminence even paid for them in the statement. We are monitoring the situation, and at the right time, we will share with the public what is supposed to be shared and what is supposed to be kept under the banner of confidentiality.
Right.
But we believe that they are doing well now.
And just before you go, the suspects that were picked up by the police, how is the case being handled?
Again, as I said, multiplicity of dimensions. These suspects are being dealt with by the police. That is purely a matter of crime. So when it comes to the criminal angle, by law, we have little or nothing, in fact, nothing to do. So it is only the police who can tell us. But then, before you go, before you go off, let me appeal to you, the media, to be very decorous. I think you are doing. I mean, I enjoy my time with you. This session is very good. I like your line of questioning. I'm appealing to you. I take this opportunity to appeal to you and other media houses to be professional, impartial, peace-loving, law-abiding, and reconciliatory in their reportage on the issue. I think that will be a huge contribution to peace building and maintenance in that area.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abubakar Zindo is the PA to the National Chief Imam. And the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons says it has retrieved thousands of guns and ammunition since the declaration of gun amnesty on December 1, 2025. Minister for the Interior, Montaka Mobara, declared the period between December 1 and January 15 as grace period for all persons in possession of illegal weapons to surrender them or register them in a move to curb the spread of gun violence in the country. On News Desk, on the Joy News channel a while ago, Executive Secretary for the Small Arms Commission, Dr. Adam Buna, said with just 15 days to the deadline, a number of these weapons have been surrendered as there are more to recover.
We have retrieved several weapons have been surrounded from all over the country, all the 16 administrative regions of the country, and all the 25 police regions of the country. Know that within this period, there is no importation of arms have ceased, importation of ammunition have ceased, sale of guns and ammunition have ceased, and so within this period, one of the items on the declaration also includes not firing of weapons during the amnesty period. Be they sidearms, shotguns like the pump action and the single barrel, double barrel, and the AK-47, M16s, and then the G series, and all. I mean, there are all manner of weapons in the hands of people.
He however warns that the government will move into full force to prosecute all persons who refuse to surrender their arms after January 15.
Well, the amnesty is clear that there is no arrest, there is no prosecution, and there is no interrogation. There is you are free. Bring the weapon. The amnesty says that even if you stole the weapon from the states, surrender the weapon, and there will not be arrest, there will not be prosecution. We don't want a situation where, after the amnesty, suits are going to be conducted, and we know those who have these weapons. Just return them. If you don't, and you are arrested, you will be prosecuted by the law and may be sent to prison for up to 15 years, because possession of illegal weapons can take you in. It's a second degree. You can go in for 15 years.
But as the new year approaches, especially on 31st night, where firecrackers and knockouts are in high demand, the Small Arms Commission says their use is illegal.
The ban on firecrackers is still in place. It's, as far as the Commission is aware, it hasn't been lifted. But it's a conversation that has come up. Another conversation that has come up has to do with toy guns. But it's a conversation we have activated with the Ministry of the Interior and Allied Security Agencies. I want to urge that give us some time whilst we discuss it, because then we want to be focused on retrieving lethal weapons. But these issues have come up. And so it's something that we have discussed at the policy level with the Minister and the other Allied Security Agencies. I believe that something is going to be done about it.
Doc, is that to say that? Doc, is that to say the Commission is aware that people are still using these firecrackers or knockouts?
Yes, I mean, you will hear people. I don't know anyone who has discharged a firecracker, but while you are home, you will hear a firecracker that has been discharged. So we are aware, but what I'm saying is that it's something that is being discussed, how to tackle it. It is going to be, you will hear very soon what is going to be done moving forward. But that, I would defer that to the Minister of the Interior and the rest. So I would want to concentrate on the amnesty and the rest.
Well, Doc, just to inform you that this festive season, there are so many firecrackers that are being sold. In fact, at Dankwa Circle, there are so many sellers, who have put up these firecrackers and are selling.
Well, just like you are saying, like I said, it is something that has come to the notice of government, the notice of the Commission, the police, the Interior Minister and his team and everybody. But my mandate was to ensure that we retrieve lethal weapons. I will defer the issue of firecrackers. We have discussed it at a level, but it is something that is illegal, but it will be dealt with. So you give us some time. I believe that it's something that I wouldn't want to make any pronouncement on them in terms of punitive measures and all that, because the laws are clear. Don't sell, don't discharge, and don't use firecrackers. But I think for some time, people have used it. So you give us some time. It's something that we have taken notice of. A decision will be made very soon with regards to how to tackle it. By the way, we are tackling lethal weapons. I'm sure that a decision will be made, and I believe our mandate is to help make the country safer.
Now, fire outbreaks continue to pose a serious threat to lives and livelihoods across the country, many of them preventable. The Ghana National Fire Service is once again taking its fire safety message to the public through its Paint Accra Red campaign, urging citizens to see fire prevention as a shared responsibility. There's more on the following report.
As part of the Greater Accra Regional Command's lineup of activities to mark the year, we have decided that throughout the region, as in Ngwa, as in Adenta, as in Medina, as in Legon, as in Weja, Amasaman, the CBD here, today we've declared today as to paint Accra red. Paint Accra red through fire safety campaign. The campaign has gone on throughout the region, and I'm happy. You are all also happy that I'm happy. Now, the issue is very simple. Celebrating Christmas, you cannot do without fire. Fried rice is fried with what? Fire. Kebab is roasted with what? Fire. Your tilapia and banku is what? Fire. Your fufu is what? Fire. Even the music that you will enjoy, your air condition, behind it is what? Electricity. And it is all what? Fire. It is for this reason that we have dedicated today, 29 December 2025, to paint Accra red through fire safety campaign. I want to entreat each and everyone here to know that fire safety is a shared responsibility. Do not think that it is the responsibility of fire service alone. We have rolled out a series of activities. This paint Accra red is only one. We have face-to-face that is coming. Face-to-face is going to be at Mokola Mall on the 31st. Face-to-face is going to come to Kantamanto on the 2nd. Remember last year on the 2nd of January, this year, 2nd January 2025, will be exactly what? 1 year. The media, you are invited. We are going to have a memorial service and ensure that such things will never repeat again. So on the 2nd of January, we are going to Kantamanto. Now, we've also started our patrol duties. The patrol duties in the markets, sensitive installations, i.e. banks, Electricity Company of Ghana installations, Ghana Water Company installations, the ministries, markets, everywhere we are patrolling. We have also established fire posts in almost all the stations, markets in the Greater Accra region. I.e. Mokola, we have a fire post. We have a market post at Agogloshi. We have a market post in Medina. We have a market post in Weja. We have a market post in Domi. We have also established a complaints unit. Then the complaints unit, through the directive of the chief officer, Daniela Intomausi Sapong, she's saying that anybody who is doing something that you think can cause fire, please walk to the nearest fire station and complain. We also have numbers at the regional level and at the district level that we are rolling out that you can complain through. You just call and complain. If it is video that you want to video, you can also video and send it. I wouldn't like to bore you with a lot, but I want to tell you that people think fire safety is the responsibility of fire service alone. You are making a mistake. That is not true. Why? The suffering emanating from fires is not a small thing. The devastation. In fact, people's businesses have never come back to life because.
Well, joining me in studio, thankfully, is Assistant Chief Fire Officer to Rashid Nisau, the Greater Accra Regional Fire Officer. We're grateful for your time, sir. In our studio. What's interesting to me is the color that you've chosen to project as safety, which is the red. Yes. Traditionally, we understand red to be danger, you know. So when you say you're painting Accra red, you know, it signifies danger and the color of fire often, you know.
Okay, so good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon to your cherished viewers. Why paint Accra red? Seriously, red is part of Ghana National Fire Service colors. So when we were looking for names to give to the program, so why don't we go for our color? So everybody will see that today there we are serious. What we are coming out with is serious. So that is how come. You chose the red. The color red, yes.
Interesting. I mean, since you started this campaign,
yes.
Have we so far recorded any incidents during the festive season in the region?
So there have been minor fires. As for domestic fires, within a day, if I'm not exaggerating, we can get like 20, between 15
20?
to 20. Yes, between 15 to 20.
Wow.
Every day. Every day.
In which areas are these? Are these domestic, as in domestic settings, or commercial settings?
Yeah, most of them are domestic, like homes, slum areas. We attend a lot of fires. Some of them are these ECG pools.
Right.
These ECG pools, the wooden ones, sometimes they catch fire, they call us, we come to extinguish them. So these are some of the fires. So that is what it is.
Right. And 20 a day.
At least.
Over the course of this,
yes,
of this season alone, as in the holiday season from 25th till now.
Yes.
A day.
A day.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Well, also, what we'd like to know, I mean, you've been engaging consistently, especially at lorry stations, in markets, and the previous months have seen some market fires. In fact, quite a number of market fires over the period before the holiday season. How effective have these engagements been? I know you've been doing this consistently over a period, but yet we still see the same, you know, trend of fires, especially in markets. Do you think these engagements are effective enough?
The engagements are effective because, let's also put it this way, we have been engaging them and things are like this. What if we had not engaged them at all? I'm sure that would have been a very worst scenario that we'll be looking at. So I think even is the engagement that has kept things the way they are. If we had not engaged them, now we are doing a lot. Even apart from the market education, we go on patrols in the night, not only to the markets, are sensitive at installations like I mentioned, ECG, the ministries, the banks, and so on and so. So some of them are on foot. We have motorbikes now to go through the corners to patrol. This is what we do daily. If you want to go and check this night, you can just go walk to the. We even have fire posts. We've established fire posts. A place like Mokola, there's a fire post. Madansuma Market, fire posts everywhere. Medina, Adent, everywhere we have fire posts to ensure that rapid intervention, if there's any fire quickly, the earlier we intervene, the better we save the situation. So it is these things that we do that has actually kept things the way they are. Otherwise, we would have been looking at a different story altogether.
Well, the issues have also been of equipment, resources to the Ghana Fire Service. Your tenders often have broken down, or they are not enough to put out fires. What has been the situation now? Do you have enough tenders, also resources to fight fires in this season?
Okay, so before the Christmas holidays, the chief officer intervened and came in, and we were able to put some of the broken down vehicles on road And so we've managed to retrofit some and put them on road. But of course, it's common knowledge that the equipments have aged. So the way they are supposed to respond is not that effective, but we are trying, and that is also working.
Are there plans to, replace the old obsolete equipment that you have?
Yes.
How soon will this be done?
Yes. The ministry, the minister visited us at the national headquarters. I was there myself. The chief officer assured us. Even the last time we had the route march at Elwak Stadium, when we converged, the minister pointed out that fire service was one organization that they will read to. So we are banging our hopes on what the minister has told us, and we don't have any cause to disagree with that.
And earlier you said you were recording at least 20 fires a day.
Yes.
What are the top causes of these fires in your investigations?
So if it's in the market, I have said this thing, marketplaces are places that are meant for buying and selling. But here is a situation, some people have turned the markets as their homes. So if you have turned the market as a home and mosquitoes are disturbing you in the night, you will definitely put on a mosquito coil. If there is a light off, you put on a candle. If you are hungry, you would like to heat some soup or prepare some hot water and get some tea this way to take. And so we are saying that some of these problems are emanating from where we use markets that is solely meant for buying and selling as domestic or residential places. Because, you see, if it is a domestic place, the advice you are going to give to the person is going to be different. The fire installations that are supposed to be there is going to be different. If it's also a market setting, it's also going to be different. So we are advising that if at the close of the day, just go leave the market. We'll close the market down. Then the following day in the morning, for example, by 6 a.m., they open the market. 6 p.m., they close the market and everybody goes. So people will not turn market places as sleeping abodes, and those are some of the causes. The last time there was this fire at Abofu, I don't know whether you heard it. It was on Sunday, I think last month or so. Somebody put soup on fire and went to church.
On coal pot fire?
Coal pot, yes, the small gas cylinders, and then went to church. It was when the fire broke out and escalated and firefighters came in that she even remembered that she put food on fire and left. So if you are asking about the cause, and some of them could also be as a result of these electrical. You see, most of these electrical gadgets are not designed for prolonged use. They don't have thermostats, as in maybe a fridge that can cut. If it is overheated, it will stop functioning. If it needs power, it will restore. Some of these gadgets do not have thermostats to regulate the flow of the current. And so such equipment are not designed for prolonged use. But some people's TVs are such that they are on 24 hours. They never
Here's a situation where you have used, equipment that people buy, especially when you go to the market. Some can't afford brand new equipment, so they go on to use. And some of these are faulty, can cause fires.
Yes, faulty electrical gadgets can also cause.
So really, it's a very dicey situation. Sometimes you can't control how these things happen because the system has created it to be so.
So then that is where the problem is. The opportunity cost comes in here. Do you want to use a faulty electrical gadget and then yourself and your wife and children get consumed by fire in the night when you are sleeping?
You can't afford a new one. Anyway, but before we wrap up, you've not been on leave this December.
Yes.
The instruction was nobody was going on leave.
Yes,
how effective has that been? Very briefly.
It has been very effective because I know I am in charge of the region here and I've stopped signing leaves since. And we have a regional fire officers page and we've been communicating to ourselves.
Right.
And the directives were put strictly. The chief officer had made it very clear that as for us, we need to sacrifice our sleep during this festive season. We need to sacrifice our time, our leave and everything. And maybe when things subside, we can decide to arrange bits and then go. So as for the leaf, it's a no-go area that everybody is aware. Even if you call in a farmer who doesn't even have a rank and you ask him, say, we don't go on leaf. So that one there is something that, yes. So
we're grateful for your time on our decks, and we're also grateful for the hard-working National Fire Service officers keeping us safe.
Yes.
And that's all we have on this edition of The Pulse. Thank you for your company.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you.